No way. I will give you all my Star Wars guys if it is. Wait. Except Boba Fett. No matter how sure I am, I never risk the Fett man.
Poindexter, you're getting all excited.
What's up, nerd family? Welcome once again to the Poindexter Lounge. My name is Enosh, aka Enosh Fett, and it is good to have you with me in the lounge today, doing syllables in weird ways. I don't know. Anyways, welcome to the lounge. If this is your first time to the lounge, thanks for coming over. Yeah, it's pretty nice of you to spend some time with us and come chill and hang out and talk about Star Wars tonight. But hey, if this is your first time to the lounge, just know that the Poindexter Lounge is a place for nerds. It's a place where you and me and my friends can get together and talk about the things that we love, things like TV shows, movies, games, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books, superheroes, toys, lots of Star Wars stuff, and so much more. And if those are things that you enjoy and that you love and get you up in the morning blasting womp rats, then hey, hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell and become part of this growing group of nerds. All right. Well, today, folks, is a very special day because today we are once again talking Star Wars. That's right. We are talking Star Wars tonight. We got a great show for you. This is the third installment of this show. And this show is not just me sitting around talking about Star Wars. No, I have some wonderful co-hosts who we have gotten together to do this show. Now, we haven't done this show in a little while. This is the first one of this year. But, we are glad to bring this back as we move our way through the cinematic universe and cinematic offerings of Star Wars. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, joining me tonight on this journey, he's a man who needs no introduction to anybody who loves Star Wars. And I always tell everybody who ever comes to the channel, anytime he's in the chat, if you love Star Wars, you should be subscribed to this guy. You should be watching his videos and listening to what he has to say because he's got a lot of really, really awesome takes on Star Wars. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome with me once again at the lounge, the Gold Man.
Gotta have my best friend Claude here.
Oh, yeah, what's up, Claude?
He missed being here, and he's glad to be back.
Well, Claude,
as am I.
It is good to have you back, Claude, into the lounge, and it is good to have you as well, Goldman. Good to have you here.
It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure.
Heck yeah. And also joining us tonight, another man who needs no introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is. All right, bat face. It can work. It can work.
Yes.
You bat face. No, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Nerdy in many ways, Mr. Dawson himself.
Hello.
Hello. Don't drop it. Don't drop it.
Don't drop it.
Don't drop it. Don't
Trust
drop
me.
it.
Hey, shut up.
Don't drop it. Don't drop it. Don't drop it.
And voila.
Okay, he didn't drop
I don't fall under pressure, okay? I've been commentating sports for 3 hours. I live up to pressure, okay?
And there he goes. He's got the bat wing. There he is. He's going up and down the court with it. Really drop it, folks.
No, he drops it.
Oh, what a loser. His friends hate him so much because he sucks.
What the?
There goes Santa.
I've never seen that before.
Oh, I love that. That's like my new favorite clip. I don't care if it's long or not.
I've seen it like 5 times now.
I just love that clip. There's just something about that clip. The first time I saw it, I was like, oh, crap. Can you imagine? The fear. Oh, but hey, it's good to have you guys with me tonight and good to be doing this thing together. And I missed you guys.
It's cool, I guess,
Yeah.
Kind of excited.
I mean, Dawson, I just saw you today, but Goldman, it is good to see you, man. It is great to see you. And how was your holidays and your year been so far?
The year's been all right. Not doing much. Still kind of in quarantine. I'm at school, sitting in my room making videos. But YouTube's been good. I've been growing. I've been getting a lot of new subscribers, getting closer with my subscribers, I like to think. I actually got a few of them to tune in right now, so thank you guys for tuning in.
Nice.
Welcome, Goldman subscribers.
So what we do is we talk about the movies. So we started with Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and now we're on Revenge of the Sith.
Yes.
So I'm very excited.
Me too.
I'm very excited.
So before we got started, we were all talking about toys and things that we had in our backgrounds, and so I have to do this every once in a while. I like to just bring out just kind of as an icebreaker.
Just to piss us off, make us jealous, just kind of thing.
I don't know what you're even talking about. So I got two toys. I got two toys. One is DC related, and that's this guy.
Oh, yes.
Right there. Check
Red
that
Sun.
guy. Red Sun Superman, baby.
That face sculpt is amazing. Look at that. That's always like the down part of a lot of Superman toys is the face sculpt, but that one looks good.
Yeah, I'm trying to get rid of this now. Oh, there we go. I gotta get him out of there. Set him free.
Yes.
Yeah. But great looking figure. And look at the back of this. You almost hate to open these boxes, man. I'm telling you what, when you get a good box like that, it's just.
I know, but they look so good when they're posed.
Oh, for sure. And I love these McFarlane toys. So I got that, but then another special toy that I wanted to share with everybody. So my friend Bruce, I've showed you guys many times. He does custom Star Wars figures for me and stuff. And I met him actually buying something from him off of eBay.
His name is Bruce.
Yes, and he's become a very good friend. And you can find him at Jenner Custom Toys on eBay. But he made me. So he called me up a while back and he said, "Hey Enosh, I'm making my 500th figure." And he says, I'm trying to decide what I want it to be. What figure do you think it should be? And he gave me he said either a Darth Vader or a Boba Fett. And I said, hey, you know me, man. I'm a huge Boba Fett fan. I got to have Boba Fett. And he's like, okay. And so then he showed me like couple different designs. One was like a dark kind of gray, charcoal gray, and one was like a clear one. And I have a clear one. And I was like, man, that charcoal gray translucent is really nice. And he says, oh, you know what? He says, that's a great idea. He says, but I want to come up with a different design for the card for it too. Like what famous Boba Fett picture should I put on there? And I said, well, so you know what I would put on there is probably where him and Vader kind of talk and go at it in Empire Strikes Back, and they're kind of giving each other a hard time at the freezing chamber. And he goes, dude, that's why I asked you. That's perfect. And then I swear to you, a couple of days later in the mail, this shows up.
Holy crap.
Totally got me. He was making it for me all along.
That is awesome.
Look at this guy. Awesome looking figure. It says on there, Boba Fett hologram version casting number 500. It's a special figure I love it because he's got, instead of Kenner, it says Jenner on there because his last name is Jennings. And so he's got Jenner Custom Toys on there. One of a kind item, 500th casting. But then check out the back here. The back has got all of his translucent ones that I've showed you guys many times that I've got right up here above here.
Yeah.
But look what it says on here. He literally put this Jenner Custom Toys a long time ago in a basement, far, far away. Jenner Custom Toys was started by a Star Wars toy fan. Since then, the toy line has reached many people from around the world. I'm gonna go over here this way there. That's a little bit better.
I never got into those toys.
This special figure is both the 500th casting of the first attempt at
casting figures.
Casting figures. But he says this figure is presented to Enosh Fee in gratitude for helping us reach this goal. Collect them all.
That is awesome.
And he's got like all the different figures that he's made there. And So it's just something special. I just wanted to kind of warm us all up with a little Boba Fett there, even though we don't see Boba Fett in this movie, but it's still Star Wars. So
yeah, it's related. It's related.
Heck yeah. So we are talking tonight Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Let's jump into it, fellas. Goldman. When you first started seeing stuff for this movie, what were some of your first first thoughts on that?
Now, it's funny because I think I said this last time. I have a vivid memory of sitting down with my mom, who introduced me to Star Wars, and she showed me the VHS tapes of episode 4, 5, 6, 1, and 2. Mm-hmm. I'm like, Mommy, where's 3? and she had to explain to me that it came out in different order. That still confused me.
Nice.
God, I'm annoyed. I don't have any of my toys or action figures here. I just got Claude, who's more than enough.
Claude is more than enough.
I wish I could show something. See, I have memories of before Revenge of the Sith came out, but I don't remember seeing Revenge of the Sith in theaters. Okay. I have the vaguest memory of seeing one scene when they were on the invisible hand in the beginning, but besides that, I just don't remember anything else. So that's why for me, there's always just been like, it was always just 6 Star Wars movies. I don't remember any of the prequels coming out. Okay. But Revenge of the Sith, I've said this before, Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith were always my favorites when I was younger. I loved the Clone Wars. I watched the Clone Wars growing up. I just had such a fondness for the prequel era, and I still do. My opinion of the movies might have changed, but I still love the era passionately. And I think Revenge of the Sith is, in my opinion, it's one of the most interesting Star Wars movie when it comes to its reception. I feel like it's always been known as the best prequel to most fans. Yeah. But recently, there are a lot of people. You could maybe say like maybe 1 out of every 4 or 3 Star Wars fans think Revenge of the Sith is their favorite Star Wars movie, and that is, I don't know. Absolutely. I feel like that's a notion 10 years ago that you just wouldn't hear. Like to say that one of the prequels was the best Star Wars movie, you just wouldn't hear that. Yeah. So now I think it just goes to show, and I think we talked about this last time, how George Lucas, I think, succeeded with the prequels. Were they the best movies? Probably not. But the passionate love for all 3 of those films, especially Revenge of the Sith now, it says a lot. It says a lot about my generation and Dawson's generation growing up with these movies. And I totally understand why a movie like Revenge of the Sith is so beloved.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm right there. I'm right there with you, Dawson. First of all, what's up, Buckeye guy? This is Goldman. Your Claudlings are here for you.
What a name! I love it.
Unite the Claude Squad.
Love it. What's up, Lord Snorlax? Barcelona. I can't even get started on this, but I see a lot of you out here. What's up, Sophie? Says, hello there, all you General Kenobis.
Hello there.
Yes. All right, Dawson. So what are your first memories of Episode 3?
So I grew up getting a lot of the prequel trilogy toys. My dad is one of those guys who's seen every single Star Wars movie in theaters, so we grew up loving Star Wars. Grew up watching Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and Episode 2 or Episode 1 a lot. We had the VHS for all of those and watched those just constantly, almost on rotation every single day. And I remember the build-up for Episode 3. I was 8 years old when Episode 3 came out, and at the time, you know, every kid has their hero, right, when they're growing up. This character that they just cling to and that they love and that they idolize. For a lot of kids growing up in the original trilogy era, that was Luke Skywalker. And for also a lot of kids in the early 2000s, it was either, you know, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man or something like that. But mine was Hayden Christensen's Anakin Skywalker. He was my absolute hero as a kid. Wow. And I always knew that he would eventually become Darth Vader. I always knew it in the back of my mind. But seeing Episode 3 in the theaters was one of the most memorable theatrical experiences I ever had. Because I remember the advertisements for it, like the poster with Anakin in the cape making the shape of a Darth Vader mask. And I remember thinking that was the coolest thing ever. It's kind of cheesy now, and kind of is like a little odd, but it was such a cool thing at the time. And I don't cry a lot ever, really. In fact, I'm pretty emotionless for the most part. But
I have it on good authority that you cry often.
Smurf you, Enosh. Smurf you.
You stole that.
I did steal that. But so again, I don't cry very often at all. But when I was 8 years old and I went and saw Revenge of the Sith in theaters, and I saw my hero from my childhood turn to the dark side, kill younglings, and betray his master, Obi-Wan Kenobi, I bawled like a baby in the theater. I looked at my older brother. Him and I were both bawling, both crying. And like Goldman said, a lot of people consider this their favorite Star Wars movie. It's my favorite too. I'm not going to say it's the best made one, but it's my favorite just due to the place that it has in my heart and the place it has in my childhood. And I mean, I have this guy here for a reason. It's amazing. That's nice. It's such a good...
Lil Sweet is a great pop vinyl.
Little Sweet sliding down the banister. Good one. But yes, Episode 3 is... one of my favorite childhood moments in the theater. Just watching that, enjoying that story, the fight scene on Mustafar, the change of Anakin Skywalker, even as cheesy as some parts that might be now looking back at it. It was one of those things that as a kid, I just distinctly remember, like, that was a great theatrical experience.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I was kind of at a different place, obviously. By the time this movie came out, I was in my 20s. And I remember I had a subscription to Star Wars Insider magazine. And so, man, I mean, from the time episode 1 to just a little bit after episode 3, I read that magazine thoroughly every month that it came in, man, cover to cover, back and forth. You'd read it over and over again, looking at all the different things in it. And so a lot of hype leading up to Revenge of the Sith, man. This was supposed to be the big one. This was supposed to be the one that I had seen as a kid, the story that we had been told as a kid that, Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi finally clash. And like, what is this? Like I remember reading before, when I was a kid about, how like there was a volcano involved or something like that, or a volcano planet or something containing lava. And just that there would be this fight and somehow Vader would get injured beyond, recognition and turn into Vader, Anakin Skywalker would. And so I was greatly looking forward to this movie, and it did not let me down. I will say that. Like, look, like the Goldman said, yeah, are they the best movies? Sometimes no, but I think Hayden grew up a little bit between episodes 2 and 3. I think he became a little bit better of an actor. They gave him a little bit more to work with in this film. I mean, they made him look like David Lee Roth. that hair there's like certain scenes where Hayden Christensen comes around, and it's just like I just expect him to just be like, hey you, who said that, baby, how you been? And like, oh, might as well jump. He's jumping around. I got the high ground, go ahead, jump. But I just it was such a different movie actually for the prequels. Like the prequels had been, it seemed like if you watch, to me, Revenge of the Sith compared to the first two, it seems like there's a lot of slow progression, but it seemed like Revenge of the Sith started off right away. Yeah. Right in your face with like, hey, we're going. We only got 2.5 hours. We're telling this story. Strap your seatbelts in. We're heading to town on this one. Yeah. And so I enjoyed all of the hype and the build up for it. And I was there at midnight, man. I was there. Unfortunately, the theater that I went to, that we got tickets for, it filled up pretty quick. And I think I was in the second row. So I was like this.
Oh yeah. It's the worst.
Oh yeah. But it was still, man, we were there for what we thought might be the last Star Wars movie at the time.
Yeah, that was the general thought around everybody. Was like, this is the last time we'll get a Star Wars film and wrapping things up. And you mentioned how this movie starts with that fight scene or that space battle over Coruscant. I loved that introduction. There's a lot of people that criticize it, like, you don't know what's going on, you don't know who's who. It's like, it's supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be disorienting. It's supposed to be like a battle where it's confusing. There's ships flying everywhere. Like, you got the point. Like, you got the point. That's how the crawl starts. Just
no more trade disputes. War. That's war. Star Wars.
Yes.
Full on war, man. Yeah.
One thing I want to say is there are 2 Star Wars movies where after the opening credits finish, I will just blast the TV. Because I just love the first 2 seconds. And with Revenge of the Sith, it's one of them. The other one is Rise of Skywalker. The bum, bum, bum. Bum. Oh, I love it so much. Although it did always bother me a little bit how, because you first see the Venator, right? And it's just the Venator. You can see Coruscant. There's nothing else there. And then Anakin and Obi-Wan come. They fly past it, and then you see all the other, like, the big battle. It's a small thing, but nonetheless, amazing opening. And the opening sequence, the whole battle over Coruscant, is my favorite part of the movie. That's not. I feel like a lot of people don't have that take, but I just I love the opening battle. I love how Anakin and Obi-Wan actually feel like friends in this movie,
Yeah.
which is something we got of a lot in the Clone Wars. But in Attack of the Clones, they just really didn't seem like friends. Anakin complained he's overly critical, he never listens, and then Obi-Wan was like his powers have made him arrogant. So they always complain about each other. But in this movie, they're friends. And there's some deleted scenes I actually kind of like too. There's one where they're trapped and they're like Obi-Wan's like playing with his face. He's like, no, we can't do that. And there's something else. And
the symbols. Yeah, I like that.
And I just that's the thing of Star Wars I like the most, when characters are just having fun.
Yeah,
like they're just so powerful. They're not worried about getting shot down by blaster droids, battle droids. I just love it, and I love so much about this opening sequence, and it's probably my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on the whole Anakin and Obi-Wan's just relationship that you see in that first scene, where they're just like talking to each other, and Anakin's like, "Sorry, Master, I'm gonna help you out," and he's like, "No, just forget about me." He's like, "No, I'm gonna help you out. I'm gonna figure this out." You feel that connection because, like you said in episode 2, it was kind of like a parent with their 13-year-old kid kind of relationship, where they're always at odds with each other, always butting heads. But in episode 3, it's more like Obi-Wan has like a 28-year-old kid who has grown to mature and understand some things that Obi-Wan's been saying, like actually, has grown up a bit. And you see that progression of that relationship, which is always awesome to see.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. They're having so much fun in the beginning of this movie that, they're very playful as they're mowing down droids, as they're navigating their way through the ship. They're very playful indeed, and just having fun.
Which is a perfect setup if you're going to establish a tragedy, right? The perfect setup, because it's always got to be something that's lost, a relationship that is lost, and they did that.
Yeah, heck yeah. Now, I am like sitting in a place where I have a whole shelf that is dedicated to Revenge of the Sith right over my head. So it's kind of cool because I kind of have the movie like
playing out.
Playing out right in front of me as I'm looking at it. But so very much so, and this is done by design. I mean, we know that one day we'll get to Return of the Jedi, but Return of the Jedi was originally called Revenge of the Jedi.
Yep.
And kind of fitting. I remember a little bit when the title came out, Revenge of the Sith. A lot of people thought it was very kind of predictable. And a lot of people had guessed it actually, as being Revenge of the Sith. But I remember being very quite okay with that. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention my friend Matt Singleton in my memories of Revenge of the Sith, because my friend Matt, he was a bit younger than me, quite a bit younger than me, but with about I think about a month and a half to go or so before Revenge of the Sith came out, me and a large group of our friends who got together frequently and watched Star Wars and hung out a lot and everything. We unfortunately we lost Matt right before Revenge of the Sith, and he passed away. He was in a car accident, and a lot of us got together to go to that movie thinking about Matt and like his mom, because he still lived at home. He was in his early, I want to say he was like in his early 20s, but he still had a lot of like things at home and stuff. And I remember his mom having us come over and giving us some of his things and stuff, and and I helped officiate his funeral. And I talked about the fact that, we had made plans. We actually had bought him a ticket to go with us. And we didn't give that ticket to anybody else. That was Matt's ticket. And so I like to think that he was there with us in spirit, watching Revenge of the Sith right along with us, because he was a good friend. And it just reminds me of that, like, when you hear Obi-Wan, later talk about, Anakin being a good friend and all that. And actually now every time I see that, like, I think of Matt, and how, what a good friend that he was, and just what a good guy that he was. And so I like I said, I not to bring down the house or anything, but I just, when I think of Revenge of the Sith, I'm reminded of that, because here we were just getting ready to go, and that happened. But you know, the thing is that, man, when we walked into the theater to go see this movie, like you said, the lights go down. There was such an energy in the room. Yeah, you know, for Revenge.
You felt like you were about to witness history.
Yes, you really did. You really did. I mean, I remember people, you know, I mean, that was the first time that I remember, because I don't remember this being so much during episodes 1 and 2, but episode 3, people had lightsabers, people were dressed up. At least in the
back
theaters
when you could do that.
Yeah, at least in the theaters that I went to, like nobody had been that way leading up to that. But when I went to go see Revenge of the Sith, man, people were out in full gear, because that was really the height of a lot of Star Wars fandom going on right then. You know, was towards the close of the prequels, and so
because that was the thing people were looking most forward to, like the turn of Anakin. How does that happen? That was the big thing that everybody wanted to see.
Yeah. Now, so there's the opening space scene. You know, there's the little buzz droids and all that stuff, and they're flying around, and you know, the Anakin's using his ship to scrape buzz droids off of Obi-Wan's ship. But and then they kind of crash into the main hangar there, and then they get out. And they're just kind of, they just seem like a couple of buddies just kind of ragtagging their way through the ship at that point. Like, hey, we got to go find Palpatine. But a lot of similarities in Return of the Jedi. The end, you know, a lot of visuals for Return of the Jedi and Revenge of the Sith. And so they come up on the throne room with Palpatine, just as Palpatine had a throne room in
I always loved that parallel. I always loved that.
Me too. Especially I just love the big window. Although it still kind of confuses me how he got there in the first place, but that's not a big problem. Just, you know, he's just looking out the window because I feel like, you know, he knew he was going to be there, and he's just like watching the battle play out. It kind of reminds me of the Siege of Mandalore arc from Clone Wars. Like we know what's about to happen. He knows what's about to happen. He's just so close, and just I don't know. I get that feeling from him, and then the rest of the movie progresses, and I don't know. I just love that in the beginning, like the ominous feeling. We get that more after the Battle of Coruscant, once Palpatine's really talking to Anakin. But I don't know. This is easily Palpatine's best movie. I feel like everyone would agree to that. Maybe Return of the Jedi, but I like him more in this. I don't know, just the manipulation from Palpatine. And we see that in the beginning, like when he's telling him to kill Count Dooku. I know it's a meme now when he says "do it," but
do it.
You know, just if you take the meme out of it, it's a really interesting scene. Just seeing Anakin. You know, he says like, "This is not the Jedi way," but then he does it anyway. And I wonder, had Obi-Wan been conscious, would Anakin have done that?
And then, of course, that adds a lot more depth to Obi-Wan's character, because you know he lives with that guilt, that he knows that if he would have simply like been able to make a certain maneuver or avoid a certain hit or tactic from Count Dooku, maybe the entire empire wouldn't exist, you know? Which I hope they explore things like that with the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, like some remorse of things maybe he could have done with Anakin that would have prevented all this stuff from happening. But a lot
of interesting things there, because there's an arrogance and there's a maturity that we see at the same time.
Yeah,
because in episode 2, you know, Anakin runs full on after Dooku, right? And just goes attack, and he loses an arm because of it. Now this time they have the Obi-Wan and Anakin have the exchange, and they're like, okay, we're going to do this together. It's like, agreed. Yeah, let's do this together. I don't want to lose another arm.
I was about to say that.
Yeah. And, but at the same time, during that discussion, I love this about Count Dooku, because he kind of brings back a little bit of that taunting, you know what I mean, that we were kind of missing in some of the prequels, you know, especially the first one, you know, where Darth Maul being silent. But, you know, Anakin basically looks at him and says, you know, my powers have doubled since we last met. And he's like, and twice the pride too. And so even though there's the maturity to say, okay, yeah, we'll go at this together, he still has that arrogance.
Oh yeah, this thing has to fight off all the time, which it makes it a character. Like nobody is without a flaw. Like Anakin had worked past some of his flaws and had made it to where like his flaw wasn't as prominent, but he still had that flaw, which is always cool.
Yeah. What do you guys think of even Obi-Wan's arrogance a little bit? Because Obi-Wan, when Palpatine's talking about, that Count Dooku's a Sith Lord and whatnot, and Obi-Wan makes a really weird comment because he says, Sith Lords are our specialty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's also kind of part of his charm, but there's a little bit of arrogance there and there's also just kind of an ingrained arrogance in the Jedi in the prequels anyway. Mm-hmm. Just because they've gone so long with a period of peace and not having to deal with Sith Lords, and so they feel really secure in their position in the Republic as well as just as protectors of the galaxy. And again, ironically, even though Sith Lords are known for their arrogance, it was the arrogance of the Jedi that ended up causing the downfall. So I think Obi-Wan's is just simply a result of the ingrained arrogance of the Jedi at the time anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I mean, granted, this is no longer the case, but he did kill Darth Maul. So he's like, I'm the only person here who's killed a Sith Lord before.
That's a good point.
Granted, he lost the fight in Attack of the Clones, but it's been a few years. I feel like he's much more confident, and you can see that with Anakin. I think that's one thing actually I like a lot about this movie more than Attack of the Clones. Anakin, he just feels a little bit more, or much more mature, a little bit more masculine. He's not as whiny. We still get those moments where I'm not the biggest fan of his dialogue, but
right.
Much less often in this movie. And there's a lot of scenes where I think I can really buy him as like the chosen one, as a really powerful warrior. And I like that about Hayden's performance in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can agree with that.
It's also interesting too, because he's talking about that Sith Lords are their speciality, yet in the same breath, there's a Sith Lord right under their nose.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
He's
literally speaking to the Dark Lord of the Sith as he's saying that line.
Yeah.
Ironic.
Yeah. So Palpatine in that moment is just kind of like, yeah, whatever, buddy. Sure.
Keep believing that.
Keep thinking that, man.
Cool story, bruh.
Yeah, exactly. and by the way, yes, Music Man, we plan on doing all the cinematic movies. Yes. Mm-hmm. So
yes.
An interesting thing, and I just checked this out, and this is true. Apparently, Gina Carano just was let go from Lucasfilm.
Wow.
That's the news.
Yep.
That's crazy.
That is the news right here while we were live. So that's
dang.
We'll have to we will be watching this with great with great
interest.
Yeah, with great interest. So they go, they fight Dooku. They go back and forth. Some stuff happens. There's a lot of flipping and stuff.
A lot of flips, flippity flip, and
flippity flips. And Obi-Wan finds himself under a bridge. What do you guys think of that whole fight?
The one with Count Dooku?
Yeah.
It's okay. I feel like it's probably the most grounded fight of the movie, considering one had Obi-Wan riding a space lizard, and another one with Palpatine spinning around in circles, and another one with people fighting over lava. So it's the most grounded. It's short. I feel like it didn't drag on. It accomplished what it needed to. You see them fighting a little bit together. Mm-hmm. You see Anakin. He's able to take out Count Dooku by himself. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a good way to show his progression from Attack of the Clones to Revenge of the Sith. And then when you mentioned the cinematic of Count Dooku dropping the floor on Obi-Wan, it looks a little weird, but it's kind of just a meme now to me. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, because the CGI is definitely aged.
Yeah. It happens plenty of times where people should die in Star Wars, but they don't.
Yes.
But I like the fight. We mentioned this earlier, the whole thing with Count Dooku, and it's just surprising. We have mentioned this. This was the first PG-13 Star Wars movie.
Yes.
So I think this was, I guess, a good way. I mean, we've seen decapitations before in Star Wars, but we saw the one with Jango Fett and Mace Windu, but it was kind of not as intimate, if you will. It was in the middle of battle. And Jango Fett wasn't a defenseless man. He had a blaster. With Count Dooku, he doesn't have any arms or hands. He's innocent. And I feel like if Obi-Wan had been conscious at that point, he would have asked, or he would have made sure Anakin didn't do that, because you could take Count Dooku in for questioning, and then they have that great scene in Clone Wars where Obi-Wan was like, he was a little disappointed in a sense.
Yeah.
when we saw his conversation with Ahsoka in the Clone Wars. He's like, unfortunately, Anakin killed Dooku while they were rescuing the Chancellor. So yeah, I think that was a statement by George Lucas. Like, yeah, this is a PG-13 movie. That's pretty dark for a Star Wars movie. Just someone decapitating someone right on screen. Granted, you don't really see the head, but
yeah,
it was still pretty dark. And then Anakin, when Anakin frees Palpatine, he reminds him about his mother and the Sand People, which again is Anakin's biggest insecurity. So I think that was the start of the planted seeds in this movie, which led to some of the best scenes in the rest of the movie later on.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting how they obviously want to take Count Dooku in as a prisoner. I've always kind of wondered though, how would they restrain him without his hands? Like, how would that work? You can't handcuff him because like he's got no hands. But anyway, I just always thought that was funny.
They probably got some kind of, laser cuff thing, or, something goes around a harness of some kind. I actually really like the look on Dooku's face when he cuts his hands off.
Yeah, I like it too. I think it's very genuine and it looks painful. Like he's like, oh crap.
Yeah. It's very you can tell that he's just it catches him off guard. You know, he's not ready for that. And then the look that he gives Palpatine is like, dude, I mean, like even through that whole exchange, right, where he's like, kill him, and he's just like, wait a second, that's not part of the plan. What are we doing? What do you mean kill him? Like I'm a Sith Lord. I left the Jedi Order. Here I am. I'm following
like,
you.
Palpy, buddy. Like
I think
a couple
in
of
a
old
sense
guys,
it shows.
man.
In a sense, it shows how ruthless Palpatine is. We know he's a Sith Lord.
Yeah.
Obviously from the originals, but we don't really see him being ruthless at all in the prior 5 movies. We see him being a politician in the other 2 prequel movies. We get these glimpses of the Emperor through the hologram. At that time, he's just Darth Sidious. We see him now. And then when you sit down and think about it, you're like, wow. And especially after you read the lore, like Dooku was Palpatine's apprentice for like 10 years, maybe a little more. And just like that, he was a pawn, kind of just like how the Jedi were a pawn. Everyone was a pawn in Palpatine's grand plan. And while his grand plan might have been a little confusing, it just still shows. I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people like Palpatine. It's just so much fun to see him be evil.
Yeah,
we get the conflicted character with Anakin and Vader, but Palpatine, he's just evil, and then the way he's manipulative about it, I love it. And I've always wondered why Dooku didn't say something. I feel like if I was in Dooku's situation, I would have ratted Palpatine out right in front of Anakin, but not a big thing.
Right. Yeah. I think there's a combination there. Like, yeah, it's not a big thing, but like I think there's a combination of shock from losing your hands and then shock from betrayal of your friend. So you're just like, what is happening right now? I just lost my hands and now I lost my best friend. Like, I don't know how to react to this.
What do I do next?
It could be in a sense maybe respect. Like, I feel like when you're a Sith Lord, you're supposed to hate your master or apprentice, right? There's not really a genuine like love relationship.
There's the understanding that one day one will replace the other, especially in the Sith, one will kill the other.
So yeah, it's either at some point during the Sith, the apprentice will try to kill the master. If he succeeds, he's the master, and if he fails, the master gets a new apprentice, and that's what happened. So Dooku's like, damn, I lost. Because he in the Clone Wars we see he tries to get Ventress to be his apprentice when he kills Palpatine, but it doesn't work. So he's like, yeah, I got outplayed. And yeah, I guess maybe that was. I would love to read the book because I have the novelization for The Rise of Skywalker or The Revenge of the Sith. I haven't read it though. I wonder if it shows what Dooku's thoughts were in that moment. It's like maybe he just accepted defeat. I lost. Yeah, I think that would be a fine way to go.
Like, well played, old man. Well played.
Yeah. It's like, well, they weren't going to do another sequel. It's like grumpier old men. Grumpy old Sith. Just a couple of old white guys. But yeah, so they save Palpatine, they make their way out, and Palpatine actually starts to show a little bit of his hand, a little bit, trying to get Anakin to leave Obi-Wan, trying to make his life a little bit easier. Yeah, realizing that if Obi-Wan's not around to influence Anakin, it'll be much easier for him to manipulate Anakin to the dark side.
Mm-hmm.
And Anakin,
because he saw what he could do to him when Obi-Wan was unconscious.
Yes.
But
Anakin stands up for Obi-Wan, and I like that. I really like that he stands up for Obi-Wan and he says, no, his fate will be our own. Like whatever happens to us and happens to him, that'll happen to the other ones because we're going to get him out of here. And, and like throws him over his shoulder and says, so let's go. The elevator shaft scenes are rather interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those escape scenes is like, it's very interesting to look at. It's like, it's something we're not used to seeing. Like we saw, of course, the trash chute in A New Hope. We saw these different escape things with all the rest of Star Wars. But this one, it was a very intricate ship. Like ray shields were a thing all of a sudden that we hadn't seen before. Just a lot of cool, interesting things that you saw in the escape. And it was even more extensive, like Goldman said in the deleted scenes, right? Where they had like the sewers they went down into with like the electric tunnels and everything. While also interacting with Shakti, coming to her when General Grievous kills her in the deleted scenes. So it's obviously was a very much well thought out or was a long discussed sequence of the film that they wanted to just get a lot of interesting things in there just to build more of the world and just kind of see the intricacies of the ships in the prequel trilogy.
Yeah, I love the line, and I saw it up here, but I can't find it right this second. But I do love the line where they're like, "We're smarter than." Oh, here it is. Yeah, Sophie said it. We're smarter. How did this happen? Wait a minute. How did this happen? We're smarter than this. Well, what do you think we should do? Well, I say patience. Right?
I like that.
Yeah. R2 will be here. Just Anakin is trying to learn. You can see that Anakin is making an attempt. Where in, like you said, Goldman, in episode 2, he's just pissed off at everything. Right? Everything is just pissing him off. Like Obi-Wan doesn't understand. He's overly critical. He's always telling me what to freaking do. And now he's like,
"You're not my dad."
Yeah, right. Now he's just kind of like, well, okay, let's chill. Let's have patience. Oh, R2 will be here in just a second. Everything will be fine. And then here comes R2 getting slammed right into the side of the wall, man. Spinning around and just doing his thing, and they realize, well, maybe it's not going to be that easy, and they get captured. Then we get to see General Grievous. What were your thoughts on General Grievous, Goldman?
Well, if any of my fans are still here, they know General Grievous is my least favorite character in all of Star Wars.
Wow.
I don't know, something about him. I don't know. He kind of represents everything I don't like about Star Wars. To me, like the lightsaber was always something that's really like, it's a lightsaber. It's precious. 2 lightsabers was okay, but seeing him later on just take out 4 lightsabers, I get it. It looks cool, but I just never really liked that. And then in the Clone Wars, it doesn't do him any favors either. Maybe if they did more with him in the Clone Wars, I'd be more accepting, but I don't know. To me, he's always just, when I see General Grievous, it kind of just takes me out of the movie because he's just such a meme at this point for me. Maybe pop culture has ruined him for me, but I don't know. I feel like every line he says is a meme at this point. Maybe that's not fair, but I never found him intimidating. Yeah, I guess that's it. I don't know. I just he represents everything I don't like about Star Wars.
How do you really feel, Goldman? That's what I really want to know. General Kenobi. All right. So Dawson, what did you think of General Grievous?
I'm actually I got to be honest. I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum when it comes to General Grievous, because I think one of the big reasons why is because there's this great video essay on YouTube that talks about the backstory of General Grievous, and it talks about where he comes from, the life he had before, how he became who he was, and how he grew to have this kind of rivalry with Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I was always intrigued by that. I mean, you don't really see that at all in the movies, of course. You only see like some bitterness that he has towards Obi-Wan Kenobi. And so I always liked the fact that you see Darth Vader in the original trilogy as a man who's more machine now than he was ever a man, right? He's got robotic limbs. He's, supported by a robotic system to help him breathe. And General Grievous is the further extreme of that, of a machine completely supporting his life, helping him breathe and helping him to basically contain everything inside of him, because we all know he really has no exoskeleton or any skin or anything. He's just got his organs, right? Just a straight up cyborg, which I always found intriguing. And he does have meme lines. I will say his dialogue isn't the greatest. I have to admit. Although with the lightsabers, I always did think it was kind of cool. Like, I get what you mean, Goldman, about lightsabers being sacred, and they're something that a Jedi builds up a long time to get and to wield. But I always like the concept of him like just being a ruthless killer, of having those lightsabers as trophies and using that to his advantage, right? Like, you see those 4 lightsabers, you know that 4 Jedi had to die in order for him to have those. And so it's kind of a double-edged sword where, yes, the lightsabers are sacred, but at the same time, like, it shows how BA he can be. Again, we didn't see that really in the movie, and we saw it a teeny bit in the Clone Wars, but it still gives that notion that he can really be an intimidating character when he's facing off against these other Jedi he's obviously killed. So,
General Grievous, you're much shorter than I thought you would be. There's a weird
try
dialogue.
not to upset him.
Yes, there's a weird dialogue, but again, it feels like that whole opening sequence is all a bunch of cocky positioning, right? It's like it's like a bunch of dudes just in there like, no, I'm cooler, a bunch of peacocks kind of showing their feathers, and then they get into another fight, and you know, Grievous is running all over the place. He's just trying to get away. He's a coward. I get it. What was it? I think Ambassador. Somebody said it, and it's true. In the backstory for Grievous, he's this warrior. He's this. You know, he's got this amazing backstory before the cyber thing, but Ambassadorial Wing puts it right. He says, you know, Grievous was designed and portrayed as this slimy, cowardly villain then, you know, which is kind of weird because he was supposed to be this warrior and everything, and now he's this slimy villain where he's just trying to get away. He doesn't really want to fight the bad or fight the good guys himself. He's kind of like that typical, you know, villain, you know, let all my henchmen fight. You know, it's almost like an old Batman episode, you know, from the 60s, you know, it's like da 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 pow,
General Grievous.
Right. And so, you know, but they go at it, and Palpatine. One of the things I just love about Palpatine is so patient in this movie.
Yeah.
Showing how much he really is controlling everything he's playing both sides. He's literally General Grievous watches from outside of this whole thing, and he's been playing both sides since the beginning, you know what I mean? Like, he's right there, and General Grievous doesn't even know it. You know, General Grievous has been working with this guy for how long? And General Grievous has no clue that this guy is the Sith Lord that he's been working with, you know, Darth Sidious. Yeah. And all this stuff transpires, and nobody knows that it's Palpatine. Palpatine is literally playing everybody for the fool and acting like he's this weak, you know, just old man, just this politician. And Obi-Wan and Anakin play right into that, trying to protect him, trying to do whatever, you know, like how much time and energy and whatnot is used trying to protect a guy who literally could take out everybody in the room, you know. But we do get to see a spacewalk.
We do. There
is a book, and I'm trying to think of what book it is. I think it's Dark Lords of the Sith. The book Dark Lords of the Sith, I think it is, where Darth Vader does the exact same thing that General Grievous does in that. Now, here's an interesting thing. Like, here's the, like, when you go back and think about these things later, right? General Grievous, he does have some organic parts.
Yes.
Yet he flies outside of the ship into space, and those organic parts survive.
Leia survived. I guess it's consistent.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's you know, okay. You know, it is what it is. But Vader in the book Dark Lords of the Sith, he does the exact same thing. He basically jumps out of a ship and then like flies towards the ship that he's attacking, and then like lands on it, takes his lightsaber out, cuts a hole in the ship, and goes and enters the ship. So it's interesting, kind of, and if I remember right, they may have even referenced General Grievous, that like kind of like how he remembers stuff, along the way.
He's like, I'll try this. That was a good trick.
That's a good trick. try spacewalking. That's a good trick. But yeah, so they go back and forth, and General Grievous gets away, right? Now, did you guys watch the original Clone Wars cartoon?
Yeah, I've not seen it. I need to. I've not seen it.
Yeah, where General Grievous comes down to Coruscant and leads into Episode 3.
Yes.
Yeah,
I prefer that.
Yeah, that General Grievous is boss.
Because yes, that General Grievous is a very different General Grievous. Plus, it explains why General Grievous is coughing and sputtering, and
even though they kind of decanonized that, I still consider it canon in my own opinion.
Me too, because like it makes sense.
Yeah,
they did somewhat reference it in the Siege of Mandalore, where Obi-Wan's like Shaak Ti was supposed to be guarding Palpatine, but we haven't heard from her, and I believe Shaak Ti was. We see that in the old Clone Wars, correct?
I want to say yes.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the old Clone Wars, but I do need to watch it. I'm not sure if it's on YouTube or if I can rent it somewhere. I'm not even sure if Disney has the rights to it. It is?
It is on YouTube, yeah.
Nice. I should watch that one day. It's one thing. It's actually two neat things about Grievous, somewhat. I again, this is another Clone Wars reference. We know how Anakin. This is the first time Anakin meets Grievous, right?
Yeah.
And then throughout the show, the Clone Wars, I love how it's consistent. We never see Anakin and Grievous meet. Yeah. Not once at the show. There's so many times they're like so close, but never actually happens. And another thing is, I wonder if this was a coincidence or not, but if you take Palpatine's 3, I guess apprentices before Anakin, I guess Grievous
Apprentice
High, but Apprentice High. You look at Darth Maul, Grievous, and Dooku. They all represent some aspect that becomes Anakin. We see Darth Maul get chopped in half. We see Anakin lose a lot of limbs. We see Dooku, a fallen Jedi. Anakin became a fallen Jedi. And then we see Grievous, the cyborg, and then Anakin eventually becomes a cyborg. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, but I thought that was a little neat, the parallels between how all three of the main villains, that's not Palpatine, ended up becoming what Anakin was. So that's just a neat thing I wanted to point out when it comes to Grievous and Dooku.
That's a great observation, because I never really thought of that before. I mean, there's so many people losing limbs and stuff, crazy stuff going on, that it's like sometimes you don't think about that. But yeah, you're right. The fact that the 3 apprentices that he had all kind of have similar things going on to Anakin.
Palpatine has a type.
So well, there's a lot of young boy grooming in this.
Oh no!
I'm just saying.
Palpatine's a groomer, I guess, if you think about it.
Yeah, there's some weird. Some of those.
We'll watch your career with great interest.
There's some weird looks that Palpatine gives. There was a couple of times when it's revealed that that he has a granddaughter. I was kind of like,
oh, with who?
Yeah, that must be a clone, because. But so they crash land back on Coruscant. I love that they showed the firemen.
Oh, quick story about this. So this scene in the theater became like a center of contention for my family for years after the fact.
Really?
Because my brother and I thought Obi-Wan said something different once the ship stopped. My older brother and I... What was that?
Another happy landing.
Yeah, so another happy landing, right? That's the line. I was convinced as a little kid. Granted, I was 8 years old, so put that in perspective. I thought Obi-Wan said not a happy landing, which is kind of a common mistake to have, right? It's kind of, but my family and I would always argue until, of course, later on you get like closed caption.
We're getting into fist fights over at Dawson's house about this.
Like, it was a source of contention for a long time. And then even to this day, my brother will just occasionally, whenever in an argument or something or discussion, he'll say, "You're the one who thought it was not a happy landing." And I'm just like, I was 8 years old, dude. Holy cow.
We go now to actual live video of Dawson getting upset after being told what the real words are.
You want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
I can relate. I can relate to that. That frustration of getting something wrong when you're so convinced you were right.
Mhm.
Actually happened to me recently. I made a bet. Someone was telling me that in the Rise of Skywalker that Wedge was in the Falcon, which he was, but I swore I remembered him being in an X-wing, and I bet $5, and I was wrong. I was not very happy. I was
Well,
not
at
very
least
happy.
you didn't bet more than $5.
Yeah, that's actually a source of contention for me because he's one of the greatest pilots in the whole freaking galaxy, and they've got him like running gunner on the Millennium Falcon. Like
There was a Wedge Antilles comic book that I had for a while. Actually, no, it was a short story at the end of a Old Republic book that I used to have, a comic book where it's this bounty hunter who uses like this like sword with some two Jedi that are actually in a relationship together. And then at the end, it's a short story of Wedge Antilles and the girl he left behind and how she ended up dying because of the Empire and things like that. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting. I can't remember what book that is. I need to get that again.
You think it's a canon book or not?
Probably
When did
not.
you read it?
I read it all the way back, like around the time Episode 3 came out.
Okay, so it's not canon. Then I wouldn't.
Yeah, unfortunately, but I liked it a lot. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting to bring up.
so then we start to see some of the love story play out between.
Sorry, I just
Goldman's over here like.
Not excited for this.
No. I think the romance as a whole is done better, but it's
Better.
There, it does have my favorite scene between their romance where you're so beautiful. It's only because I'm so in love. No, it's because I'm so in love with you.
So love has made you blind.
That's all I meant.
That's how my wife and I go to sleep every single night. It's true love right there, true dialogue.
While Dawson brushes his long hair, he's got stuffed up under that cap there.
You know, I was watching this with my girlfriend back in the day, and she was like, "Why is she brushing her hair? She has curls." And I just thought it was a funny thing to bring up.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Oh my gosh!
I will not forget.
To watch the love scenes between Anakin and Padme. Good Lord, I just, I love Star Wars. I love Star Wars.
I know.
And it's like, oh my gosh, it's painful.
It proves how much we love it by how much we're willing to suffer through those scenes whenever we watch Star Wars.
But again, I think besides that one scene, the one I just recited, I don't think any of those scenes in this movie are too cringe. Like when we see them get back together on Coruscant for the first time, when she tells Anakin that she's pregnant, I always thought it was interesting because Anakin gives
happened.
Yeah, Annie, I'm pregnant, and then he has like that face, like, no, oh no, what's gonna happen? Like the panic button face.
Yeah.
Then he's like, it's beautiful,
and then he has the line like, "Feels like we've been apart for a lifetime."
Well, that's his Jedi way of saying, I've been off planet for quite a while. What's the deal, huh? Where's Mace Windu?
Yeah.
The real reality of
See, that actually clears up.
The premonition is actually it's Mace.
See, that
Windu's
actually clears
kid.
up something that a lot of people kind of misunderstand about Episode 3. That I see a lot of people saying like, "Oh, so Padme went through an entire like pregnancy cycle in one movie." It's like, no, like he was obviously off world for a while. So she'd been pregnant for a bit, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, that kind of clears that up for people who are actually paying attention.
You know that's also funny. Someone brought this up because I made a video once on why I thought the Clone Wars Anakin was so much better than the movie version.
I watched that.
Someone's like,
that was good.
Thank you. And someone was like, I wish Anakin wasn't so good at flirting in the Clone Wars, because then you watch his counterparts in the movie and you're like, what the hell happened?
I think I liked that comment actually.
Yes.
Because you know, there's that one arc in the Clone Wars where Anakin's with the like those slavers. I forgot the species, but you know, he's flirting with that one. He's pretending to be this guy, Lars Quell, and he's so smooth. And then you transition to Revenge of the Sith. You're so beautiful. Oh goodness. Those are the things about Star Wars you just gotta love.
I will say though, there is an episode in the first season of the Clone Wars where it's the episode where Anakin gives Padme his lightsaber for some reason, and then there's some siege on the temple by the bounty hunter. I can't remember his name. He's a really good one.
Cad Bane?
Yeah, and it's so funny because the dialogue in there is actually kind of consistent with the prequel movies because it's kind of cringe a little bit. And then he just hands her his lightsaber. And immediately, my wife and I are watching this. And we're like, you're handing her your lightsaber. You're going to need that at some point. There's going to be a situation where you're going to need that. And you're not going to have it. And sure enough, later on, it's just like, that was predictable. Then again, that's season 1 for you, you know.
Sophie says Anakin talks about Padme's skin like he wants to wear it.
Oh, wow. It's a Hannibal Lecter here.
and of course the droids are there too. C-3PO
Yes.
walks by, is like, I'm gold now, guys.
I'm gold now.
I'm gold and shiny now because we're living on Coruscant.
I am a gold man.
We moved on up in the world. Now I'm gold. And so
Jedi money.
Jedi money. Which does beg the question, like, how did they keep that thing? Like, they're living together,
Right.
yet
Like-
they somehow have kept this a secret.
Well, I think that's Padme's apartment, and then I
Yeah.
guess
Yeah.
I think all the Jedi they're supposed to live at the temple. So maybe Anakin, you know, he sneaks out at night when no one's looking, hops out the window, flies down.
It's gotta be
1,000 feet.
exhausting.
Like, we'll see you, Grogu.
Secret. We'll keep you the training tomorrow, okay? Probably kill you in the morning.
But yeah, so then there's a lot of tension between Anakin and the Jedi in this movie, especially with Mace Windu.
Yeah.
It's played up a few times, a little thick, to be quite honest with you, especially with Mace Windu. Like Mace Windu, why is he so pissed off at Anakin?
Well, he did mention in episode 2 that he just didn't trust him, so that's probably something that plays into it.
I mean, like what? I find myself when I watch these movies, when I watch the prequels, I find myself kind of like asking the question, like, what did he do to you? You know what I
that
mean?
mother
Like,
effer ate my last Twinkie.
right? You know, it's just like kind of like what did he do, man? That pissed Mace Windu off so much, you know? Because there's a lot of tension there. And we'll even talk about it when we get towards the end, you know, where he kind of tells him, like, look, if what you tell me is true, you will have earned my trust. Like Anakin couldn't just be his friend this whole time, you know. But there's a lot of tension, and Anakin is getting closer. I like. What do you guys think about the relationship between? I think they did a really good job between Anakin and Sidious in this movie. Where it, you know, I know we joked about the grooming, you know, thing, but
He's just petting Anakin on his lap. Yes, boy.
come on in here, boy.
Oh no.
Have you ever heard of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Here he is.
Sit on my lap and I'll tell you all about him.
Oh no, it's so wrong.
No, it is. So Anakin has the premonition about Padme dying, and thus the basically the rest of the movie, the gist of the movie is kind of set into motion. Do you think that that's a good plot point, or do you think that that's kind of like a weird tool that, like, one of George Lucas's things that he just kind of throws in to make work for the movie?
I'll go first.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
To me, I mean, the relationship between Anakin and Obi-Wan, I feel like it's the worst part of the prequels. I feel like they could have done enough to where the reason why Anakin turned mostly had to do with the Jedi, and that's a big part of it. But the biggest reason is because of Padme. I think something that would have worked much better would have been something along the lines of the Jedi find out that Padme is pregnant with Anakin's kid, and maybe the Jedi are so messed up in their ways where they would eventually take the kid away or something.
Yeah,
and that's what makes Anakin snap in a sense. I think, but maybe that would paint Anakin as more, not as a hero, but maybe paint the Jedi much more
Evil,
darker than intended, more evil. You know, they're trying to take a kid away from their parents, but I think that would have sold Anakin's fall more, or maybe even if they just kept this plot line, but instead of, because it seems like at no point during this movie does Anakin really care that Padme's pregnant. It just seems like that she's about to die. That's like the thing that concerns him. Maybe if he was more concerned with the kid, maybe if he had a premonition that the kid would also die, but then it wouldn't come true. I don't know. But I feel like if just focusing on her dying, I get it's kind of the possessive love, the toxic love that George Lucas was going for. I just don't think it worked as well as it could have. I think there's certain aspects of this movie that really work well, like the problems that Anakin has with Mace Windu. But at the end of the day, you I feel like a big part of your enjoyment of this movie, and it's the reason why it's not one of my favorite movies, is how much do you buy Anakin's fall to the dark side, in the fact that he's willing to kill basically all the people that he's grown up with just to save Padme. And someone like me, it doesn't work. But for a lot of other people it does. And I think the Clone Wars really did help. You know, with the whole thing with Ahsoka leaving, I think did play. If you look at it as a canon, when you look at the fact that the Jedi expelled Ahsoka, I think that does play into it, because Ahsoka did mean a lot to Anakin. So I think when you take a lot of things in the canon consideration, it works a lot better. And I think that's why one of the reasons why I really enjoy watching the movie. But just based off of the movie, Anakin's fall doesn't work. It's as well. But I think once you get past the scene, it's weird, because Anakin's turn, there's that one moment where he turns, he kills Mace Windu, he's like, what have I done? And then 10 seconds later, he's committing to be Darth Vader. That part doesn't really work, for me at least, but every other scene between Anakin and Palpatine works so well.
Yes.
I love I was just about to say grooming, the manipulation of Palpatine.
I'm in your head.
Planting the seeds. It's a little obvious at first when he's like, I had a master who knew how to cheat death and stuff like that. And then when he's getting electrocuted, or when Palpatine loses the lightsaber on his duel with Mace Windu, he's like, I was right, Anakin, the Jedi are taking over. I feel like Anakin knows that's not true. I mean, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, but I feel like that's the part where people think Anakin's stupid. Not that he turned to the dark side, but that he was convinced that the Jedi were trying to take over the galaxy. I think he sees the Jedi were wrong, but I don't buy that he would believe the Jedi are really trying to take over. Maybe I'm wrong. That's just how I saw it.
Yeah, that line where he yells out, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil. Like,
I should have known the Jedi were plotting to take over.
Yeah, it is a big jump, isn't it?
It's an interesting conversation, because kind of going back to Padme and him being fearful of losing Padme. It's interesting because, again, we saw that happened with his mother, and he went to help her, but he kind of felt he could save her, and he felt like he was in control of the situation. But then when the Tusken Raiders kill her, he snaps a little bit. And then, of course, I think the most important scene of this turn is, again, that scene where he's talking to Yoda at the Jedi Temple and saying, like, hey, there's somebody that I'm close to that I'm seeing visions of dying. And Yoda gives him this advice. It's like general Jedi advice. But to Anakin, it kind of seems like a smack in the face, because it's like, you're basically just telling me to let the one I love die when I know that I might be able to do something about it. Right? And so I think that kind of makes it work a little bit more for me. And as far as Anakin, again, I also tend to agree with a lot of people that I don't think Anakin actually believed that the Jedi were trying to take over. I think what that more was again, there's not really any context in the movie to really support this, but my headcanon says to me that he knows that's not true, but he convinces himself that it is, in order to make what he's doing seem right to him. Because, again, he wants to save Padme at any cost, because, again, that possessive or obsessive love you were talking about, he can't stand to live in a world without her, and when he lives in a world without her, that he's miserable, right? He's miserable without her. And so he wants to save her at any cost. And so, again, he convinces himself to think that. And I think him saying that to Obi-Wan was even further, just saying, I can't believe you guys are doing this. I can't believe you guys are this evil. Just trying to convince him, yes, this is what I believe. This is the only way that I can really justify to myself doing this. Because otherwise, it would make it seem like, he was pretty stupid, right?
Yeah, I really like the I really like the opera scene. Where they talk about Darth Plagueis. I really like the idea of Darth Plagueis, and
it needs to be a movie. I keep saying it.
And I don't know. Did you guys ever read the book Darth Plagueis?
I think once a while back. Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that book, and I'm very disappointed that book is no longer canon, because I really enjoyed the fact that that book overlaps with, like, say, episode 1 and whatnot, and it gives us some insight into Palpatine, like where he came from, what he did with
and it makes Palpatine look even darker too.
Oh yeah, for sure, and it's just very powerful. And now you got some people like asking the question if Plagueis even existed.
Yeah, he does.
And yeah, but there's people like who literally have questioned now whether or not Plagueis was like an actual thing, or like or if he was just a legend that, you know, Palpatine made up. And so I don't know, it's weird, but I love that scene where, you know, the look that there's a look that he gives Anakin where he's just like, you could see it that it is real, because he's reminiscing.
Yeah.
And he's
ironic.
Yeah, he's gloating within himself, because look, Ian McDermott has these weird looks that he does with his face, but he's just like so wise that until he died.
Until I killed him, of course.
I killed him, of course, you know. But you know, but he's telling Anakin, you know, look, you can gain this power, you can do this, but you can't learn it from a Jedi. You can only learn it from a Sith. And I think the ball starts rolling, and you know, the little hamster starts getting on the treadmill. It's not going full tilt yet, but he's starting to kind of turn the wheel a little bit in Anakin's head, like, maybe I'm being groomed here. You know, like, you know, something's not right. I love every time I say that, Goldman's just like, just like, oh Lord.
It's like, why do you keep petting my head?
It's funny, but you know what's one thing, going back to that scene, there's another scene I want to discuss. I think one of the things that I dislike the most about the prequels is that I feel like George Lucas, with the dialogue, he tries to, I guess, tell instead of show. Like when Padme later on is like, Anakin, you're breaking my heart. Like, that's just not how people talk. But in this scene, it's never specifically said that Plagueis was Palpatine's master. But you can tell just by the acting, and like when he says he could save other people from dying, but not himself. Like, you're right. I don't think you did a particularly good job of mimicking his facial impressions. But what you were saying, was correct. Like, you can just know. And then those things that George Lucas is really subtle with, I really like. And then I want to talk about my favorite scene in the whole movie. It's when Anakin, it's after Mace Windu leaves to go confront Palpatine, Mace Windu, and the other 3 Jedi. And Anakin is in the council chamber. And he's just staring across Coruscant at Padme. And Padme's in her little apartment. And it's just silence. I think it's one of my favorite scenes, because, you know, George Lucas, wasn't the best with dialogue, and I feel like this is the one scene where just they're not talking. You know, the music is playing. It's this really ominous music, and you just know that Anakin has to make the decision of his life right now. He's like, do I stick with these people who have been raising me for the past 13 years, and help them defeat the Sith Lord, or do I save the Sith Lord, betray everyone who I've spent my life with, including Obi-Wan, just to save Padme's life? And he starts crying. You see that struggle when he's looking across Padme, and then he leaves. He makes the decision. He's going to go save Padme and thus save Palpatine. And I genuinely love that scene. Short scene, no dialogue, but I love it.
And you mentioned the music. We would be remorse if we did not just talk about the soundtrack of this movie. In my opinion, this movie has the strongest soundtrack of all of Star Wars movies ever, in my own personal opinion. Because like all the emotional scenes are so well scored, especially the Order 66 scene. That entire score, I think that was one of the main reasons why, as a kid watching in theaters, I cried. Just because the score fit the tone of the scene so perfectly. And the intense music with Mustafar. And you mentioned the ominous music when Anakin's looking at Padme across Coruscant in that contemplative scene. Again, the music of this movie is so spot on. It's easily the best of the prequel trilogy, easily the best soundtrack. And again, I think it's even the best of the entire Star Wars saga, but that's just my own opinion. But yeah, the music is fantastic in this one.
I do want to point out a couple of things. McLovin says, loving these streams.
Yeah, what's up, McLovin?
So that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm glad that you guys
I don't know why I did this.
I'm glad you guys are having a good time having these conversations with us. I do also want to point out a couple of things. I know Jack Pierre has asked a couple of times. So look, we did acknowledge the fact that this happened with Gina earlier. This is probably not the stream to address that. And so I do appreciate the fact that you do want to know our opinions about it, but I'm sure that we'll all probably address this in some way. But we're not going to address it collectively here because we're here to talk about episode 3. And so we set aside this time to talk about that. And so we want to do that. Also, on a positive note, I do want to recognize Brad Latham, who has been active in the chat tonight and says he's talking about Plagueis here. Really good book. I really want to see a live action Plagueis. So do I. But one of the reasons why I really wanted to point out him was because Brad is the newest member of, if I can get his comment out there, the newest member, and of course this banner, everything's in the way when I need it. Bradley Layton there, ladies and gentlemen, at the end, who's our newest Patreon supporter. So thank you, Brad. We love having you here, man, and thank you for your support and for putting your trust in us. I'm very appreciative. But yeah, so there's a lot of little scenes that go back and forth in this movie. A lot of just little things that happen that it's a long movie. Yeah, it really is a long movie. A lot of little things happen in this movie. But all of it kind of brings either Anakin closer to Palpatine, a little further away from the Jedi, putting those little seeds of doubt in his mind towards the Jedi. The Jedi keep doing these little things that aren't quite that aren't quite on, you know what I mean? And so there's a battle that literally raging for them when it comes to this. And so I really appreciate where this whole thing goes when Anakin starts to set out. You could tell that there's a pull for Anakin, like you said, Goldman. I don't think that it's I don't know if for me just the love of Padme is enough. For all that to happen. I mean, it seems quite shallow, for something as big and heavy as Anakin turning to the dark
side. Why I think it goes more into he feels like nobody's listening to him in this situation. I think that's why he's more willing to turn against the Jedi. Is like, these guys aren't listening to me and what I'm feeling, what I'm going to lose, that I know I'm going to lose. So I think that's why that combination makes a little bit more sense than just simply losing a Padme, at least my own personal opinion.
Yeah. So the things start to transpire. We get Obi-Wan versus General Grievous. Obi-Wan goes to Utapau and is trying to find General Grievous. Finds General Grievous. That whole, he's riding a lizard. He's, he's running around. He's doing some cool stuff. But you gotta, visually, I do like it when he drops in on everybody's, and he gives the famous line, hello there. That's an Obi-Wan thing to do. That's one of Ewan McGregor's signature moments.
Yes.
That is quite cool. But I guess, maybe Goldman, maybe you don't like it that much. I don't know. Maybe we didn't talk about this lightsaber fight, but this lightsaber fight with, the 4-armed General Grievous, 4 lightsabers versus 1 lightsaber. Is that too much? Is it over the top? At this point, I kind of felt like George Lucas was like, how can I make more lightsaber action happen? That's why I guess when I get to Last Jedi and everybody complains that there's no lightsaber on lightsaber action, I'm kind of I'm kind of okay with it. by that point, because it felt like in the prequels, everything was trying to one up themselves. It was like double-sided lightsaber, cool. Two lightsabers at once, cool. 2-on-1 fighting, things going on. Yoda jumping and weaving and dodging and going all over the place.
I still love that.
It's cool to see, but now we got four-armed General Grievous helicopter and lightsabers everywhere.
No matter, and as I said before, I don't like General Grievous, and there is nothing you can do to convince me that a person with 4 lightsabers could not beat a person with 1 lightsaber in a lightsaber fight. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how trained you are, unless the person with 4 lightsabers is completely incompetent, which generally
only attacking you in one spot with all 4 lightsabers at the same time.
Well, there's that one moment he comes crashing down. It's all right there.
It's like, you know how people would say whenever you're trying to shoot Vader, don't all shoot at once, takes turns shooting. No, everyone shoot at once, so he can't block all the bullets at the same time. It's like this, just take 3 of your lightsabers, hit him all at once, and then just go under and stab him with the 4th one. So I don't know, that just infuriates me. Again, it doesn't matter. People say Obi-Wan has the Force. It's his fighting style. It's so good against Grievous. No, there's nothing you can do to convince me that it's realistic. Anyway, he disarms a few of Grievous's lightsabers, and then the fight goes on, and he shoots him. I did like the one part where he kind of tries to kick Grievous in the leg, and then not the smartest idea, and he's like, "Ow, yeah, that would hurt like a."
That makes you wince when you watch it. It's like, freak, you got a nice bump on your shin. But I agree with you with this fight scene. I think this fight scene is the weakest of the prequel trilogy, and the reason for that is because the beginning of the fight is so poorly edited. Because the thing is, with all the other fights, you had actual people that were training and getting the technique down and the choreography of the fight. Whereas this one, you're literally fighting against a CGI character. So you had so many close-ups of Obi-Wan, blocking. You see, this much Obi-Wan on the screen. And him blocking something. And all of a sudden, you see a hand fly off. Where the freak did he cut off a hand from? It's so here and there, and it cuts so much in that fight scenes that it's hard to follow where it is. But then later on in the scene when they're chasing each other and then at the end with the gun, it's a little better just because you don't have to cut so much because the lightsaber action. But yeah, the beginning of that fight scene is a little infuriating. It kind of gives you a headache a little bit.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then Obi-Wan beats him. Obi-Wan beats him. Yes, yes. Uses a gun, fries him from the inside out. Man, blasts his heart from the inside out, breaks his heart.
That was a cool death. I gotta admit that as bad as the beginning of the fight was, that was a cool death.
Yeah, he basically pulls a Padme before Padme was able to do
it. When it comes to this whole sequence, I'm not the biggest fan because it feels like it's not too important to the plot. Because the main thing is Anakin's turn to the dark side, and for me, it's kind of obvious why this had to happen because you couldn't have Obi-Wan with Anakin while he was turning to the dark side.
He had to be distracted, right?
Yeah, he had to be distracted elsewhere. I do like the Order 66 part, when the clones turn on him. Granted, given just the movie, it's pretty confusing why the clones would just turn on them like that. It's not. I feel like they could have given at least one line to explain something. Granted, the show made that amazing, but that's the show, not the movie. And then we get the Order 66 scene, which I'm sure we can all agree is really well done.
Yes, the music for that scene, all these Jedi that you had come to love, with all the action figures and such, all these different Jedi you hadn't seen really do anything, and all of a sudden they're just all dying all in front of you. And, oh, gosh, it broke my heart as a kid, especially, what's his name? He usually has a yellow lightsaber, but he has a blue lightsaber in the Clone Wars. He's brown, got the spikes on his head. What's his name?
Oh my gosh. I've got his figure right up here.
Gosh.
What's his freaking name?
He had a yellow. Jedi. He had a yellow lightsaber in the video game Jedi Power Battles Episode 1.
Heath Koth?
Is it
this guy? In Attack of the Clones, I think.
No, not that guy. Not
Heath Koth. Okay.
Oh no, he dies in the ship that gets shot down, and he has the goggle eyes. Plo Koon, yes. Gosh, I loved Plo Koon as a kid. I loved his figures. I love his character. I love his design. Just seeing that kind of character. And then Ki-Adi Mundi. Ki-Adi-Mundi's death was so tragic to me because he looks back at his troopers and he's like, "What are you doing?" And he knows what's happening, and he's devastated and he can't react in time. Oh, Ki-Adi. Breaks my heart.
When he's like, "Come on, guys, come on, let's do." Oh, never mind.
Crap. Yeah, no, that part was always heartbreaking. I think that's when the tears started to well up when I was a kid in the theater. And then when Anakin came to Coruscant and with the temple and the kids, I'm just like, my hero just killed kids.
The blue girl,
oh yeah,
I got her figure up here too. I've got like all those figures, man. All those Jedi, they get shot down and killed and everything, man. I got them all right there.
Her death was the weakest.
Well,
she was just standing there and also
visually,
just like, you know,
visually it's the weakest because she's just there and like she just kind of falls down and she doesn't really like look like she's doing much, but like they all kind of surround her, and I think it's just because that environment looks really CGI. It looks really weird. It's kind of very colorful and everything. But
and they keep shooting her. Like, they shot her to oblivion.
It's like holy cow.
Yeah, double tap, triple tap, quadruple tap. Like
it's like, man, we're gonna keep shooting a woman until she's into the ground, man. You know, she's gonna be chum. Yeah. But back on Coruscant, you know, Palpatine puts his plan into motion. Finally, you know, the grooming has come to an end. It's time to get.
He's nice and groomed, nice and combed.
He's that hair, man. But yeah, so I mean, he's finally got Anakin basically where he wants Anakin, and it's interesting because he starts to appeal to Anakin, and he's like, "Look, I can help you save your wife." He throws it out there on the table, and is very direct with him, and I love the look on Anakin's face because Anakin looks at him like, "Wait, what?" He's like, yep, I know. Yep, it's your wife. I can save her. I've got the power to save her. And he lays it out there. And it's the power. It's at that moment that Anakin realizes that he's the Sith Lord and is conflicted. And Palpatine is playing him so hard right there. I mean, you know, hey now.
Oh God.
I'm sorry. Continue. I'm sorry.
What the frick?
Are we gonna have another repeat of the lightsaber thing from last time?
That was so friggin' funny. Oh my gosh!
Hilarious. Every time Enosh says something, it's the double meaning.
So he.
Dang it! Now he's thinking of things.
I feel like I can't even say it because I mean, like, you know. He's got stats. He's got do it. Oh man, but you know he's
give in to your perverted mind.
Anakin pulls out his lightsaber.
No, not again. Not again.
Well, he does. He pulls it up.
Why'd you do this motion?
He did not need to say that.
Yeah, it was intentional.
He's going to arrest Palpatine.
Okay.
He's going to arrest Palpatine with a lightsaber. And Palpatine is just like, oh yes, you must do what you feel. He's like, yes, you must do what you feel you need to do. You know.
Gosh dang it.
Hide behind a wall, if you will. We will be here waiting for you when you come back. Oh, but he tells him basically, like, you know, look, yes, if you feel that arresting me is the right thing to do, go ahead and arrest me, right? But he's like, but if you do, you won't be able to save Padme, right? And by at this point, Padme has almost become a meme in the movie. You know, she's just there for little one-liners, you know, like, oh, you know, was Obi-Wan here? Well, yeah, he kind of stopped by earlier, and he loves us. He cares about us. He can help us, you know. And it's just like this is the weak part of Episode 3. Are those exchanges where, you know, where she's just kind of like giving these little one-liners, you know, whatever. Yeah. But there is a moment though there where Anakin he's really contemplating what he must do, and he really wants to arrest Palpatine.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip end, he wants to save Padme. That's probably the one moment out of the whole movie where I really believe that Padme's, well-being is a legitimate concern at that point. That's not just kind of a plot point. You know what I mean? That it's like he's really mulling over, I can save my wife or I can take this guy in. But if I take this guy in, the Jedi are not going to let him help me. Do you feel that that's legitimate, or is it just me?
I think so. Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to think. What do you have to say, Dawson?
Could you repeat that question? Actually, I'm trying to.
Okay, so we were talking about how through a lot of the movie, the plot point of Padme being this, huge focal point that turns him to the dark side, right? That's not really so believable in the bigger scheme of things. That it feels like there's so many more things, whether it be Ahsoka, whether it be just other things that have happened in Anakin's life that would push him towards that edge. That it doesn't just seem that like just Padme dying should do that, or Padme being in possible danger should do that. But when Anakin seems to know that Palpatine has the ability probably to save her or help her in some way, and he knows that if he turns Palpatine over to the Jedi are not going to let him live. That's why it's so important to him that Palpatine lives, because he just wants that information. He believes Palpatine that information is true, and so he knows, though, that if he turns Palpatine over to them, they are not going to allow him to use his Sith powers or whatever to save Padme.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering if you feel that that's like a legitimate thing, like it's a differentiator at that moment from just him going to the dark side or him trying to weigh out things with Palpatine.
I think that kind of gives credibility to the statement that Luke makes in Return of the Jedi. They're still good in Anakin. Like, obviously, him turning to the dark side wasn't a wholly evil thing of him to do. It was a lot of it had to do with simply just him wanting to protect someone he loved, which isn't really an evil thing to do. Is just want to protect someone you love, but he did he did bad things because of that, right? And so he was trying to do something that his mind is good, but in the grand scheme of things, ended up killing and destroying the lives of a lot of people. So I think that, again, I think it gives a little more legitimacy to that whole "they're still good in him" claim, personally. Him just simply trying to keep Palpatine alive to help Padme, and then by the time Padme is dead, he's already sworn his allegiance and he has nowhere else to go. So he's like, well, I guess I'll just rule the galaxy then.
Yeah.
and be angry about everything.
Yeah. So he comes back, he tells Mace Windu, he convinces Mace Windu, look, Palpatine is the Sith Lord. He's trying to do the right thing. He actually wants to do the right thing. And then once again, Windu is just like, you stay here.
Yep.
I don't trust you. Don't trust you.
You should know how reckless Anakin is. Like, what wasn't the best idea?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, just bring him with you at that point.
Like, not a great plan.
Yeah, he's powerful. He's powerful. He's one of the best Jedi around. He's been in some of the biggest battles of the Clone Wars by this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess the argument is that Mace Windu knew that he was close with.
He was too close to the situation.
Yeah,
it's like in a cop show. When a case revolves around a cop's family or a really close friend, they're too close to the situation to make a good judgment call. And so I can agree with Mace Windu not wanting to bring Anakin along because, again, he's just too close to the situation.
Yeah. And so they go to arrest him. What do you think of that scene where they go and arrest Palpatine, Goldman?
The lightsaber fight's a little goofy.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when he kills the other three Jedi.
They died like chumps.
It just makes the other three Jedi look weak. it doesn't really make Palpatine look powerful.
No,
They didn't block a single blow of his. It's just like, you're Jedi masters.
Well, Kit Fisto did for like 5 seconds. And then
Yeah,
he
but
got-
even then, like, he got so unceremoniously killed. Like, I would have much rather seen the majority of the fight take place between Mace Windu, Kit Fisto, and Palpatine to show how powerful Palpatine is, and then maybe kill Kit Fisto a little bit later on. But
it's treason then. And then
I love the edits that have been done with like Wallace and Gromit, Kermit. You know,
yes, there's some great.
so it's treason then. All right.
That felt great. And then then we get the scene of Anakin's turn. I kind of mentioned this earlier. I don't entirely buy it, but I just love seeing Palpatine be so evil. Then we hear, henceforth he shall be known as Darth Vader. I'm not sure if this is true or not. Maybe you can attest to this, Enosh. But someone told me that George Lucas at one point promised to reveal why his name was Vader. Is that ever a thing?
I don't remember that. I don't remember ever hearing about that. No, I mean, other than Vader is Vader is a
I think it's German for father or something.
Yeah,
Something
it's like German for father, and so it was supposed to be like a play on Dark Father. But even then, it's kind of a weird thing, given the fact that he didn't really know that he was going to commit to Vader being Luke's father at that point. So it's almost like it worked out.
He's like, this sounds cool. You'll be Darth Vader.
You'll be Darth Vader. It's like, which. I'm sorry, but it is still a funny scene where like Palpatine is standing there in his robes and stuff, and there's Anakin like on his knees. Oh yeah, that's such a weird thing. Like, he gets all guttural, man. And he's like, yeah,
the Force is strong with you.
Oh, I'm so tight-lipped right now.
Oh gosh. That's wrong. That's so wrong.
Again, hear McDermott in his lips, man. He's like, oh, he turns into Frankenstein. Fire.
There's something I noticed when I watched it the last time. When Palpatine's getting electrocuted and he stops, you can tell his face is still CGI'd, and then it cuts to Mace Windu, and then the next shot you can clearly tell it's prosthetics. I just an interesting thing. I don't think the CGI has aged that well, so you can really notice like once it's actually a practical effect, the difference between the two. It's something I always notice now.
I would love a remaster of the prequels with improved CGI and such, but I have a question for you guys. So I've had conversations with other people about this. So when Palpatine gets scarred from the electrocution, right? So one theory I've always had is that, growing up, my dad would always tell me that the dark side corrupts those who hold it and use it, and it deteriorates your body, right? It destroys you. And he kind of used that as an explanation for Anakin becoming the way he was as Darth Vader before we all knew the real reason. And the same thing with Darth Sidious. Do you think that Darth Sidious always looked the way he did at the end of Episode 3 and just simply dropped the facade once he fought Mace Windu? Or do you think he was actually scarred by the electrocution and that's what caused him to look like that?
I think he was actually scarred because I feel like if it was like a facade before, I feel like he could always go back. And I feel like he wanted to use these scars as a physical representation of the Jedi trying to take him out. Because he said that
so he can play the victim.
Like the attempt on my life has left me scarred. Although I wish someone asked, how did you get burned by the Jedi? But that's another topic. So I never saw it that way. I don't know. There's nothing like we didn't see Dooku get any physically worse over time. And we see that a little bit with Kylo in The Last Jedi, but is he really a Sith? Then he turns back to the light.
He was kind of in betweener.
Yeah. So I don't think so, but it's not something I'm like, this is my opinion. It's just like, I don't think so, but you never know.
Because that's what I've always thought. Because like once he drops that facade, then he gets the yellow eyes of the Sith. Like, because we know the Sith, they get the yellow eyes when they fall to the dark side and when they're engrossed in the dark side. And so the fact that Palpatine never has that kind of shows, or at least hints at the idea of him being able to cover up. Because obviously he can cloud what the Jedi see as far as the future is concerned. So maybe perhaps he has an ability to cloud what anybody sees in the physical sense. So I don't know. That's always something that I thought was an interesting conversation for sure.
I've never thought about that, to be honest with you, Dawson. And that I think that's an interesting food for thought. As to whether it is. Some weird stuff there between Mace Windu. No, you have lost power, ultimate power. Right? I mean, now here's a real quick question.
He's also doing the Thriller.
Thriller.
It's the electric slide.
Floppy's glad to get you. Gonna make it outside. It's just a thriller. Okay. Real quick poll. Mace Windu, survive the fall or dead?
He's dead, and if he comes back, I will be so upset.
Survive the fall or dead?
Dead. It says in the script he was dead.
Good.
Dead.
Thank God. I said this before. If he comes back, there was the rumors that he was going to come back at the end of Mando. If that were to happen, it's funny because I did a live reaction to it. I think I would have to move my mic and just slam my head on the desk repeatedly. If that happened.
Yes.
Agreed.
Yes. No. I am in total agreement with you. So he becomes Darth Vader. He sends Vader back to Mustafar. There's some kick butt scenes there where Vader basically kills all the. I mean, they're cleaning up all the little loose ends, right, with the Separatists and everything. And then Obi-Wan finds out, and then he, of course, Padme's love. Padme's going to go change him, and I love how Obi-Wan just kind of stows away. Like, how long was that trip? And Obi-Wan's in the closet.
He packed a couple snacks.
Yeah, does Obi-Wan have to pee at any time? While he's
all Jedi have diapers. Didn't you know this?
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah.
They get a certain age and they all get Jedi Master diapers.
Before we move on to Mustafar, I want to say one thing, and I think it was a scene that's the most disappointing scene in all of Star Wars in terms of what could have happened, and it's the moment that Obi-Wan finally finds out that Anakin turned to the dark side.
Oh, you're right.
This was his brother for about 13 years, and all we get from Obi-Wan. I don't think this is Ewan McGregor's fault. I think this was just the script.
Yeah.
All we get is it can't be. I can't watch anymore. That's all we got. After watching the Clone Wars, Obi-Wan should be on his knees and in tears. This is in a sense, this is worse than Anakin dying. This is him becoming evil. And I feel like we could have gotten something so much better than what we got. And it makes me a little upset every time I watch that scene.
I can agree with that. I can agree that he probably should have reacted a bit more dramatically, a little bit more emotionally. I think the only explanation that could kind of maybe not really suggest that it's okay is the idea that he's already been through a lot. He just killed General Grievous. He had the clones turn on him. He just flew back and he's fought his way to the temple. And it's well, this might as well happen now. My apprentice might as well be the next, Darth Lord of the Sith or whatever. So might as well. But even then, it's just he should react more than that. I agree with you, man.
Yeah. Well, here's an interesting thing. And I've even noticed it about it even in our discussion, in our conversation tonight, is in the first two movies, it's more, they were both much more upbeat, right? There's a lot, even though there's some silliness in the first two prequels, this movie is very heavy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very heavy. Even the things that we think are kind of silly and out of place, it's still very heavy. And I noticed even our conversation feels heavy tonight. Even talking about these scenes, even though we love this thing and we're talking about it, and obviously it's a movie that we have to cover. I think, besides our kind of funny moment, with Anakin, whipping out his lightsaber. But even then, it's a very heavy movie that you don't really have many moments where you're just oh yeah, it's definitely a darker tone for sure. And probably the darkest out of all the Star Wars movies for me. Yeah. But then they get to Mustafar. They've seen the tapes. Anakin has fallen. They've gone through all this. This setup with Padme. Do do you guys feel that it I don't know. I have such a hard time sometimes watching that scene where she's just like, Anakin, you're breaking my heart. You're going. Tiffany and I will laugh with each other all the time and be like, you're going someplace I just can't go with you. You know, is it a meme or do you take it seriously?
It's tough for me to take seriously. I mean, also I can recite that whole scene word for word. By the way, fun fact. It's not as much of a meme. Now that I watched the Clone Wars, I do feel not so much the Padme part, but with Anakin and Obi-Wan, I do feel the emotion a little bit more. Not so much without the Clone Wars. But I still, even though Anakin's dialogue is a little bit silly, I think it's still better than some of his worst moments in the trilogy. So I can enjoy it enough. It's not something that it's nowhere near the General Grievous fight where I'm just like shaking my head the entire time, or the Attack of the Clones lightsaber fight at the end, which I just think is awful. It's a fun scene that I think could have been done much better, but I still get a lot of enjoyment out of it.
And Nerdy, what about you?
I think it's kind of in between for me. I mean, yeah, there's that emotion. You've seen these two characters grow to love each other, even in the most cringiest of ways. But then you see the betrayal, and there's some small, brief moments in that dialogue where it's like, okay, I can feel that a little bit. That's pretty sad. But at the same time, like, again, the whole you're breaking my heart, you're going on a path I can't follow. Again, it's just kind of in between for me, where there's parts where I'm just like, okay, all right, let's get past this. And then so I'm just like, okay, I can feel that a little bit.
The excitement that was felt in the theater the night that I saw this, when Obi-Wan comes down that ramp and they start having that conversation, and you know that this is the moment that we've all been waiting for since I was a kid. This is the fight. This is what it comes down to. This is going to be it. Got to ask the question. This lightsaber fight, is it too much?
Yes, but I'm over it. Like, it's the only lightsaber fight I would say is really over the top, and that's fine with me. One over the top lightsaber fight doesn't bother me too much. It is the longest sword fight in cinema history, by the way. I believe. I enjoy it. It's fun. Not everything in Star Wars needs to be super grounded and serious. I will take it any day of the week over the Attack of the Clones lightsaber fight. I think maybe if they trimmed it a little bit, it could have been better. I think at the point where they're on like the pipes was a little much, or when they're flying around on ropes. Not the biggest fan, but it not enough to where it makes me not enjoy the scene. I still thoroughly enjoyed the scene, especially the parts where they talk, because I can quote it perfectly. But I enjoy it enough.
Yeah. No, this fight scene, I can agree. There's some parts you could definitely trim out and it'd still be great. It's just, like Music Man saying here, it's such an amazing fight. And yes, it is a little over the top, but at the same time, like, this is a fight between Anakin and Obi-Wan. This is supposed to be the epic build up to what Darth Vader becomes, lead up to that rift that occurs between Obi-Wan and Anakin. And I think the only two parts that I'd cut out were, like Goldman mentioned, the swinging of the ropes, where like basically George the Jungle with lightsabers. I'm just like, okay, nah. And then the one time where Anakin, or was it Obi-Wan, who landed on a droid that was like collecting lava stuff and it just flies where he wants it to go. You could kind of credit that to the Force, I guess. But at the same time, like, why don't you both just land on like a platform? Why would one have to land on a droid? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But other than that, I do really love this fight scene. Again, some great toys that came out of it.
Absolutely.
I love the fact that in this fight scene, people actually, like, Obi-Wan's garb, it gets dirty. It gets damaged. It gets covered in soot. It gets covered in smoke, debris, and everything. And I love that aspect of the fight. And I think the setting is just great. I mean, the orange and black, the contrast in colors, the darkness of this, but also the intensity of the lava. Oh gosh.
For me, honestly, I love the setting. I love the backdrop. I love all the things. I just wish that they were not sword fighting over a river of lava. To me, that's where it starts losing me. When they're, like you said, they're swinging across like Tarzan. They're doing all this weird stuff that makes no sense whatsoever. They're literally flying by each other, swinging. Just let me get a hit in, and it's
hit the rope.
Yeah, exactly. Just cut the rope and it's over. And it's like I feel like they could have fought along the beach there, if that's what you want to call it, the beach to the river, of lava, whatever, like take it out of the building into that. But because all the stuff in the building and everything, I love all that stuff. That's some great stuff. When it's showering rock and magma and stuff, I mean, like that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish that they weren't, like standing on little tiny platforms that they could barely get their feet on, and they're whoa, and back and forth. So
although it did add aspect of them trying to survive the fight rather than actually winning at some points. Right.
Yeah.
A lot of points are like, okay, I just got to get off this little platform before it goes over this like lava waterfall, and then we'll get back to fighting. Like it's not just the entire time them like being witty with each other or just simply trying to kill one another, because that'd be a boring fight, right? That'd be a boring fight of them just simply like maneuvering and fighting for as long as they do. Instead, they're just actually trying to survive, which I think was a cool change up to the fight.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about the side fight that's going on between Palpatine and Sidious?
I have similar opinions. I like it for the most part. It's still a little ridiculous that they're fighting in the Senate chamber and they're actually throwing the Senate seats to each other. I thought that was a little silly, but I still enjoy it enough. So yeah, nothing really to complain about.
I always loved when Yoda walks in and just shoves the guards back. I died laughing in the theater when that happened. That fight, I think, overall was a good fight, and there were two great fights to have parallel each other. I think one thing, though, is that I wish there would have been a little bit more backstory to Yoda and Palpatine in the movies. Because, we've seen them interact a couple times, like, specifically at the beginning of Episode 2. But other than that, you don't see a whole lot of interaction between Yoda and Palpatine. And so there's not a whole lot of emotional stake in this fight. Like, obviously, Yoda's trying to make sure that Palpatine doesn't end up ruling the universe as the Emperor, right? Obviously, he has that responsibility. But there's not a lot of emotional stake otherwise.
Yeah. High ground line.
It spawned it spawned the greatest Star Wars parody song ever, and I have that song on my Spotify, and it's great.
What do you think?
It's still a little silly. Like, does Obi-Wan really expect Anakin to say, "You're right, it's over. I'm not gonna go jump an extra"?
And he knows how arrogant Anakin can be,
Yeah.
But
unless he was just trying to bait Anakin.
I mean, that's possible. But I think also at the same time, like, he didn't want to be there fighting any more than anyone else would. He did not want to be fighting Anakin. And so he's trying to find any reason for the fight to end. He's like, look, I got the high ground. Please don't go any further than this. I don't want to do what I think I have to do to you. So I think that's a good explanation for that. But yeah, it is a little silly.
Yeah. So Yoda loses. Goes off, him and Bail Organa. Obi-Wan chops up Anakin, leaves his friend there to die. Should he just finished him off?
Probably, but I'm not sure if it's... I don't know, it's hard. It's kind of hard. I'm not sure if Obi-Wan could have physically killed Anakin. It's a tough thing.
Yeah, because, again, like Goldman said, hindsight is 20/20 when it comes to this whole Darth Vader thing. Like, we know who he becomes.
Yeah.
But again, it pained him. Like I was just talking about, saying, I have the high ground. Please don't make me do any more than I want to do.
Sure.
And so he's not going to just go down there and be like, ignite, dead. He's not going to pull that.
Yeah. There is a moment where it almost looks like Palpatine cares about Anakin when he shows up and finds him there on the ground.
I've actually always kind of thought of that scene as Palpatine looking at a lost commodity. Like mourning the loss of a weapon that he had, or as powerful weapon as he would have had. Like, because when Anakin, when he actually has his body, he's considered one of the most powerful Jedi, and therefore would be one of the most powerful Sith. And Palpatine knows this, and losing his limbs nullifies some things that he can do. It limits his mobility. It limits a lot of things about him. And so I think I always look at it as him looking at like, crap, I bet so much on this guy. Even
limits his use of the Force because of the midichlorian count. I mean, he lost a lot of midichlorians that day.
I will say in regards to the Yoda fight, I know we don't have a whole lot more time, and I don't think we should spend too much time on this, but I think it's so funny that people will watch episode 3 and see Yoda go into exile for losing a fight against Palpatine, and yet people mock the idea of Luke going into exile over losing Kylo Ren.
Yes.
It's like they literally do the exact same thing. Yoda literally trained Luke, and so Luke is just doing what his master did. So
those are great points for another recap for sure.
yes.
And Brad brings up the Robot Chicken thing. It's one of my favorite things from Robot Chicken ever, where he's like, and so I told him I threw the whole Senate at him. Go for Palpatine. Like, what's an aluminum falcon? What?
Oh crap! He's crying now.
Yeah. Oh no! It's like, oh, you must stink in that thing. But so the very end, Darth Vader gets his iconic suit. How powerful is that moment for you, or not? As we wrap this up,
it's powerful, but the no kind of takes away from it. I thought the shot of them looking at the Death Star was a little more powerful. I like that. But yeah.
Yeah, I love the shots of him getting the suit on from the first person perspective of the helmet going on, of the armor being put on. Although the ADR of Anakin screaming is very obvious, he's not moving his mouth, and yet you hear this screaming that's happening. It's like, okay, that's kind of taken me out of it. But yeah, the no kind of, I understand what they were going for, but it does kind of take you out of that moment and makes it less impactful than it was up until that point.
No, I agree. And finally, Padme. Padme has the twins, Luke and Leia, just as expected, and then she dies of a broken heart.
They could have done that better.
It's so funny because because there's so much set up here where there's like so much potential, and then we get to the end, and it seems like a lot of these last few moments, like that they're just trying to piece things together, were so just kind of disappointing. As good as this movie is, isn't that weird?
Yeah. That's true. Again, like being my favorite Star Wars movie, not the best, but being my favorite, yeah, there is some things at the end that just kind of plop you in like, okay, so this is supposed to lead to episode 4, like Obi-Wan goes there, Luke, Leia go there, like, okay, everything's just falling into place. It just kind of...
By the way, Qui-Gon's got some training for you.
Yeah, like out of nowhere. It's like, okay, why can't we focus on this for a couple of minutes, please?
I mean... Yeah, so there's a lot of weird stuff at the end, and then she dies of a broken heart where there's no actual physical reason why she has to die. Yeah, but it's still a great movie. I mean, that's the thing. Is it still a movie that we all obviously enjoyed? We've watched time and time again, and it's definitely the best of the prequels. Like you said, it's a lot of people's favorite Star Wars movie. Yours included, Dawson. So I guess going around here, like you said, you get the one last shot, Death Star being built, things are going in motion for the future, and we see that. Goldman, what would you give Star Wars Episode 3: Revenge of the Sith on a scale of 1 to 10?
I'd give it a 7. A solid 7. It's enjoyable enough. I do have a few problems with it, but it's a movie I can thoroughly enjoy. And
how about you, Dawson?
I'm in that similar range, probably a 7 or 8. Like Goldman said, there are some issues like we have mentioned, some of the dialogue, some things that don't quite work, but there's just a lot of stuff to enjoy. The fight scenes, the space battle, the emotions, the music. I mean, there's enough to make up for those small things that are issues with the movie.
Yeah, no, I also give it a 7. I think, like you guys said, there's a lot of good stuff here. There's a lot of stuff that just falls a little bit short, so it's not a perfect movie, and it's not a great movie even. It's a good movie. It's a good watch, and it's something that I enjoy periodically. And it's like I never seem to see Revenge of the Sith and go, I don't want to watch that.
It's one of the ones I'm just like, ooh, yes, let's watch this.
Yeah, it's a good film for sure. And so there you go. It looks like we all gave it about a 7, and that ends the prequels, ladies and gentlemen. So
We've
a heavy-handed movie for sure, but we got through that one, and I'm proud of you guys. And you know, we've seen the fall of Anakin in the beginning of the Empire, but we got a couple more lighthearted movies to get to, and I can't wait to get to the original trilogy, because the original trilogy is just chock full of so much goodness, and we'll definitely get there. But hey, Goldman, why don't you tell people where they can find you?
You can find me at the Goldman on Twitter or on YouTube. The Goldman, make plenty of Star Wars videos, mostly about the sequels or the Clone Wars or the Mandalorian. I'm just someone who loves Star Wars, and I can talk about why I love Star Wars all day. So go check me out at the Goldman.
Absolutely. So, and I encourage you to go check him out. He's got some great Star Wars content.
Thank you.
Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. Dawson, tell everybody where they can find you.
Well, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at NIMW32, at NIMW32, as well as Vero at Dawson Weidrich. You can check me out on Facebook as well, Nerdy Many Ways Facebook page. Also, check me out on my YouTube channel, Nerdy in Many Ways. I probably should be talking more about Star Wars at the moment, just because I love Star Wars. I do a lot of other material as well, a lot of nerdy talk. I'm talking a lot about DC comics and DC movies at the moment. But on live streams and stuff, I talk about just about anything nerdy. So stop by, have a good conversation, and have fun being nerdy on the channel. So thanks for having me, Enosh.
Absolutely. It's so good to have you guys here. Every time that we do this, I have a lot of fun with you guys, and I love hearing your insights about Star Wars and getting your thoughts. So, hey guys, until next time, my name is Enosh saying, may the Force be with you. Yes, we are going to go in chronological order as like how the movies happen in time. So my guess, well, we'll have to talk about it. We'll have to figure out.
You want to subscribe to the Poindexter Lounge.
I like it. I dig it. I dig it. Until next time, guys, may the Force be with you. Stay nerdy. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.